Hey guys, welcome back to my sewing room. I'm Kelly and you found me here on Pick and Stitches. And today we are going to make a fast and easy project. This is a 3 seams only pillowcase and it is adorable. I made it in these patriotic colors. It is almost 4th of July and I figured this would be a fun one to have out. All of our seams are going to be completely concealed. I'll give you guys a close-up of that here in a minute. And you basically need a yard of fabric. So the measurements that I'm going to give you are for this size, which is kind of a standard. You can certainly change it so that it's long enough for a king size or an oversized pillowcase or even a square one. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I think this is a fun, quick project. I'm always looking for something to do with the kids when we have sleepovers, and I thought, how cute would this be for the girls? They could all pick out their own fabrics, and then we could sew these quickly, and they kind of have a keepsake to go home with after a slumber party, and it's not candy or cookies or cake. So anywho, let's jump on in. I'd love to show you how it works. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut all of our coordinating fabric. So for the little accent piece, you really only need about 2 inches, and we're going to just make this simple and go with the fabric. Okay, and so for our main body of our pillowcase, we're going to want 24 inches by the width of the fabric. So I've got, you can't see it on camera, all the way down here I've lined up with my 24-inch line, and then I'm just going to get this here. And we'll give it a trim. So that is one of the things I do love about this particular one is it can be for right or left-handed. I go a lot slower when I'm cutting with my left hand, but I do have the flexibility to be able to do that. So that is for the main body of our pillowcase, and now we'll do our cuff. All right, so for our cuff piece, we're going to cut this at 12 inches. And this is actually a remnant I had left over. It's a 108. You really only need the width of fabric, but I'm gonna make 2 pillowcases, so this will work out perfect for that. That was a lot of layers. There we go. Okay, so now we're just going to take our 2-inch accent piece and we're going to fold it with the wrong sides together, and we're just going to press it in half. And we're going to go all the way down the length, and then we'll be ready to lay out our pillowcase. Okay, so now we're ready to lay it out. This is exactly like it came right off the bolt, and I'm going to take my main body fabric and I'm going to open it up on the table and lay it out. So I have one selvage on one side, pretty side of the fabric is up, and the other selvage is over here all the way off camera on the right side. So after you lay that out, we're going to take our, I can't help but think of this as binding strip. This is our accent piece, and we're going to lay it from selvage to selvage right across the top. And we're going to have the opening part facing this top section. So we're just going to lay it in there, and it doesn't have to be perfect just yet. The next thing we're going to do is take the cuff piece of our fabric. So for me it's the blue stars, and we're just going to lay it right on top, and then we're going to start pinning. I know, Kelly, me, I said pinning. And for this one, we're going to do it a little bit differently because we're going to be manipulating the fabric and moving it around. Let's pin from right to left instead of like we normally would coming into this seam. Or you could use Wonder Clips. Let's try Wonder Clips. We'll reshoot this if this doesn't work, but I think the Wonder Clips may be exactly what we want. So I'm going to get my sandwich right here together, and I'm just going to clip it all the way down. And this isn't ready to sew yet. I'm just getting everything kind of organized, if you will, so that I can roll up this fabric inside of it, and that's what's going to hide our seams. All right, let me get this other side. Okay, now that we have the entire length of it secured, we're going to take our cuff and push that forward. And I'm going to take this main body piece and I'm just going to roll it all up so that it is nice and compact. And once I get all the way towards the seam line, then I'll stop and I'm going to take my cuff back down and around, and I'm going to grab the whole thing here. So all the different layers, and I'm going to flip that side back behind it so that I can roll it down. And now I'm going to pin it with all the layers. And this is getting ready to sew. So you do want to keep it straight. Notice how I accidentally just had it like that. You don't want any wrinkles like that in it. You want to have it nice and square. There we go. Okay, so we can try this with the Wonder Clips. It's funny, I haven't had these in my drawer in a while. My daughter kind of hijacked them into her sewing desk, and so I've been fine without them because I don't use them often, but this seemed like the perfect reason to go hijack them back. All right, so once we're pinned all the way across, then we're going to go sew down that line. Okay, so now we're just going to take this and sew down this line. We've got all of our layers here together. Now remember, I started with the 108, so I have a little bit extra of the stars here that I'm going to cut off. Okay, so now we have all of this sewn together. It looks like this weird little burrito thing. We're going to reach in and grab our main body pillow fabric, and we're going to pull it through. And this is just going to be kind of a tug and pull until it all gets turned right side out. It's not terribly hard. Definitely had elastics that were harder to run through a waistband than this guy is. So we'll tug on it and pull it until it gets all the way turned right side out. And look at how cute that's gonna look. It's definitely perfect for 4th of July. Okay, so now we can look into our seam over here, or actually it's through the pillow, and our seam is completely hidden, so we shouldn't see it anywhere. And here I've got, if everything has gone correctly, I'm not going to have any raw edges on either side of that accent piece, and I'm going to pull it all the way down. Now see here, this is that extra fabric we were talking about. So what we're going to do next is just trim up our outer edges. So let me readjust this. So first, actually, we're going to go ahead and give this a nice good press so that my seams are nice and flat, and then we'll come back here and trim it. Okay, so we've got it all ready to go. I'm going to just lay it out flat and give it a good press all the way down the length. Okay, so now I've got it all pressed, and I've just folded it in half so that it's a little bit more manageable. And we're just going to trim up the sides so that everything is even. So this selvage was a little shorter than that one. Of course, my 108 is over here. So I'm probably going to take everything down just a notch to get it nice and even. I'm going to line up one of these lines with this line between my stars and my dots so that I know I'm lined up with that seam. And I'm going to make sure that I'm inside of all of the selvage because I don't want any of that left on the pillow. Now we'll do the other side. So down here on the other side, I'm going to line up again with that seam. In fact, I'm going to swing this around. So I'm going to put that white line right on the seam, make sure I'm leaving that selvage out. There we go. Okay, so now you're going to take your pillow and you're going to fold it together like it was actually sitting on the pillow. So it's going to feel a little bit backwards, but this is what's going to help us get all of those seams tucked in. So we're going to pin this and get ready to sew it. One of the key things here, though, is that we really want to make sure that this seam lines up with this one. So it's just like when we're quilting, you've got to make sure that those come together and are nice and easy. And I'm just going to give this a test run. I thought this could be a really fun, well, like a party favor almost, for if you had a kids party or friends coming over. And then I was thinking about my daughters. And the girls are always wanting to do crafty things. Sorry, I didn't like the way that was coming together. So if they can throw this together as part of kind of their slumber party, that might be a fun activity and give them a kind of take-home thing as well. So I'm just going to continue to pin all the way down. Then we're going to come back here and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam from the top to the bottom. And then I'll tell you what we're going to do next. Okay, we actually could have pinned all this at once, but we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down the bottom of the pillow as well. And it totally feels backwards. It feels like you're closing up the pillow prematurely with raw edges out, but it's going to turn out wonderful. So we'll do our 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so now we're going to take this back to the cutting mat and I'm just going to trim this off a little bit. So now everything is even. That's why I did my 1/4 inch seam, but I want to keep this as small as possible. So I'm going to cut off like maybe 1/8 of an inch on the outside so that when we flip it around, it sits nicely inside. Okay, so we've turned it inside out and now I've just kind of finger pressed this open. And now I'm going to hit it with the iron really fast just so it kind of stays put while we're sewing in just a second. And what we're going to do is conceal that seam we just made inside of here. So, because that's the only raw edges we have are the ones that are inside of the pillow right now. So when we go back to the machine, we're going to sew using our presser foot as our guide. We're going to go 1/4 inch to the inside here. And then that's going to give us a really clean, polished result. Okay, so we're going to start here on the open end, and I'm just going to sew my way down and around those two sides, staying really close to that seam. I'm going to sew a super scant quarter. Slow down because that's a little bit of bulk there. I want to make sure it gets over it and stays straight. There we go. out of bobbin thread. Good news, I still have one left. Usually try to wind up about 5 bobbins at a time, and then I clean out my machine really well and change the needle, and that way I know every time I empty, I don't have any more in my machine, or excuse me, in my drawer, that I leave that last one on top to remind me that I need to take a bobbin winding break and do a little machine maintenance. At the beginning of this run, I think I did forget to backstitch, so I'm just going to plop right back up here and do that now. All right, we will trim those loose strings and turn it right side out. I can't wait. So now when we turn it right side out, what you're going to have is clean seams all the way around. So you won't have any raw edges, and you didn't have to serge a thing. I have a serger, but honestly, it's not the best, and it always has the wrong color thread in it. So, you know, I'm all for speed and efficiency. And especially if this is something that you might consider doing, you know, as a housewarming gift or welcome gift, or something that would be great for a slumber party kind of get together. I'm always trying to come up with things that I can do for like birthday party. All right. So no raw edges at the bottom or the top or the side or anything at all visible from the inside. Everything is going to be concealed, and it's going to be a nice professional look. On the second one, I went ahead and decided to top stitch this accent piece down. I like both the pillowcases, but this one certainly stays in place a little bit better.